Todd, thanks for joining me here on this Vegan Plant-Based Summit. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
How is it in New York at the moment?
It's a little cold, and we're just hopefully finishing up winter very soon, so we can concentrate on spring and the beauties that New York has to offer during the springtime. It's beautiful here.
So tell me where your story began. I know you started off as vegetarian. That was about 2009, wasn't it? So you started vegetarian, and what happened? What made you become vegan?
I was my girlfriend at the time I was living with, and she was vegetarian and I wasn't. And it was funny because she lived in Vermont and I'd go back and forth, and it was a joke because I was vegetarian on the weekends. And I wasn't a huge meat eater ever. I did eat chicken, some like fish and sushi. I never really ate red meat. But I wasn't like a crazy carnivore that needed meat all the time. It was like deli, like turkey and stuff like that, and turkey on Thanksgiving, which, obviously I regret tremendously. But, she was vegetarian and her kids were vegetarian, and we moved in together and I became vegetarian, and I was always drawn to animals. And then, and me asking her why she's vegetarian and why not vegan, and spending time at sanctuaries and doing my own research, I'm like, what am I doing? My dogs were so close to me. And reading about the Yulon festivals and stuff like that, I was like, I couldn't justify not being vegan. The guilt was there that I didn't know was there. And once I just realized and saw the things I saw, you just can't unsee them. And with my connection with the animals, it was the right thing to do. And it really pained me that I didn't realize sooner,
So you, I think it was around about 2013, you volunteered at a animal sanctuary, and that's where you decided that, hold on, my life is with animals. This is what I love.
So I started volunteering at an animal sanctuary in upstate New York, and I started volunteering once in a while. And then I started volunteering like once a month. Then it was like once every 2 weeks. Then it was like once a weekend. Then it became every Saturday and Sunday. And that was like 2 years. And then I decided I was going to sell my business, move up to upstate New York to be close to the animals, and then figure out what my profession would be, because I owned a printing business, a small printing business. And I decided, okay, let me just, figure this out. I'll go up there, and it's funny because the day my business was closing, like to the new owner, like you buy a house, like it was the closing for the business, the sale, I was offered a job at a sanctuary, and I was like, yeah, definitely. And so, I took the job. I bought a house up there. I was committed, and I loved it so much. And my connection to the animals grew stronger every day. And I loved it. I was so drawn, and figured out, like, at that time I was in my late 40s, and it took me like 48 years to discover what I was put on this earth to do, so it was my true calling, and this is my true calling.
So you're lucky, really, because a lot of people never actually find their true calling.
I say that all the time. I'm blessed to find what I was put on this earth to do.
Tell me about Arthur.
So he's on my shirt right now. That's Arthur.
Oh.
So I was working the sanctuary, but I was, I always looked at properties, when I was, at night on like Zillow and other real estate websites. And, just as like a pipe dream, like, oh, if I ever did this, I would do it this way, and I want to do this way, and I want to focus on pigs, and, never think I would actually do it. But I always believed that things happen for a reason. And so I came upon this property, and I was looking at it, and the real estate agent that I've worked with in the past was, set up an appointment. And so I talked to him, and he's like, I'm running a little late. You can know there's no one living on the property anymore, so you can just go right on, and I'll meet you there. So I went with my friend Carrie, and we're pulling the driveway, start walking around, and we see a rooster run past, and I'm like, that's odd. Why is there a rooster here? We saw a peacock. And then eventually, when we're walking down to the property, the real estate agent shows up. He's like, I'm here. And I went to talk to him. I said, there's like some birds here. We saw a rooster. We saw, a peacock. And it was just like, he's like, yeah, they said there might have been some animals left behind. There might be a pig. I'm like, what? And then I walked away from him. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to find the animals. Like, this is crazy. And so I went through the barn and got to this little area. And then I opened the door and I heard little Arthur run up to me, and he was so happy to see me. And I was blown away. I'm like, you're coming home with me. And the real estate agent's like, what's up? I'm like, I found this pig. And he's like, okay. I'm like, I'm taking him. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't care who you call, get in touch with the owner of the property. I'm taking this pig, because livestock, like, that's like a federal offense. Stealing livestock is a federal offense.
Yeah.
So, not saying I wouldn't have done it, but and the real estate agent like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. I'm taking this pig. And he was like, okay. And he called the owner, and he ended up talking to him, and he said, okay. And then I found a friend of mine that runs Skyland Sanctuary, New Jersey. I called him up. I'm like, could you babysit a pig for me? And he's like, sure. So I took him home. He slept on my porch. We slept on the porch together of my house. It was nice that it was August. So, and then we just cuddled all night. And then I took him to Cornell. He was riddled with parasites. He needed to get neutered. And I got him taken care of, and he came back and stayed with me for another day. And then I brought him to Skyland Sanctuary, New Jersey. And Mike Sturr Uncle Mike babysitted Arthur for a few months. And while we kind of negotiated on the property and try to figure everything out with financing and everything like that. And now he's here, and he's the original PIG.
I don't see much of Arthur on Instagram. I'm a big follower of yours on Instagram and the Pitchfork Warrior, so I get a double dose of Monty and a double dose of King Cole. But I didn't see Arthur very much.
Arthur, he's like hibernates in the winter. Like, he's very, they all seem to hibernate in the winter, but he definitely likes to stay inside, and he likes the warmth of his stall. So, and he took over. Our smaller guys or newer guys had like a stall like on the outside of the barn, and he kicked them out and moved in there with Faye and Vivian. He's bonded with Faye and Vivian because they were the first three animals, three pigs on the property. Actually, Faye and Vivian are testing pigs. They were being burned for medical testing, and they were the first actual pigs being brought back to the property, because I didn't want Arthur to be brought back here alone because of the bad memories he had when he was, he was right next to the room that they were slaughtering pigs. That's where he's kept. So there was the slaughter room here, and he lived right next to that room. So I didn't want to bring him back here without other pigs here first.
I noticed that you have a raffle going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
A raffle that you're hard to let go.
There's a beautiful picture of Ren that was someone painted, and it was a picture that Gene took, Pitchfork Warrior, that actually went viral. It was shared by Moby and a lot of big people, and it was a really beautiful picture and it's funny because they like to lay in their water troughs in the summer, and they can only do that when they're smaller. So now they're going to be like sad because once we have the water troughs out, they're going to all be too big for them. But it's a really awesome picture. And we do raffles as a way of funding the sanctuary because we are 100% nonprofit. And so we like to have, we always have to ask for money for animal care and emergencies. And, Louis was just $12,700 at Cornell. Louis was $10,000 the month before. So we have really high vet bills. So we like to do fun things like raffles to, so we're just not asking for money. We're trying to give back. No. So we have amazing raffles every week that people donate to and do artwork for. And it's really wonderful. And people really are invested and they love these items. So it's really wonderful.
I've noticed that you do a lot of charity live streams on Instagram where people can donate. I actually wasn't allowed to donate. They said it wasn't available in my country.
Fortunately, outside the US, people can't donate. We go live every day.
It's a really good thing because it enables people to connect to you and connect to the animals. It's sort of allowing people to grow as part of that story. So with the raffle, they become part of that story and they get part of the story too.
I live up here mostly by myself, and when they announced lockdowns, we were all stunned. Everybody was like, that was a big stunner. And it was like 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I don't think anybody was sleeping. And so I went live at 2:30 in the morning, and I was in the barn with Katniss, I was hugging her, because I was worried, I'm up here a lot alone, and it's hard. And so I said, listen, I'm going to go live every day. You're going to be locked down. I'm going to get you out of your houses for an hour. So as long as we're locked down, I'm going to go live every day. And I've done that for the most part. I may miss a day here, 2 days here, never in a row. But it seemed to really get people out of the blues of being stuck in their house, and they're living vicariously through these animals and seeing the animals and knowing their stories. And so it really turned out to be a thing where I get messages from people be like, I'm really having a bad day. Do you think you're going to go live today? I'm like, and those are the days like I'm really tired. I'm like, I don't think I can go live. I'm really tired, and the weather's bad. And I'm like, sure, I'm going to go live. And it's funny, those are turned out the days that I'm just exhausted and have nothing left in the tank. Those are my best lives.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing planned. It's all natural. It's just, I go where the pigs take me, and what, it's very organic. And people are so invested in these animals and the animals' lives and their story, because we take a lot of special needs animals in that really need us. And they celebrate my ups and downs, because I'm a very emotional person. So when my animal's sick, they know my animal's sick, and they know that these animals are such a part of me that I'm affected, that they become affected because they're so invested in these stories. And it's actually a really beautiful thing. And it just happened, matter of fact, where I'm like, yeah, you're stuck inside, I'm stuck up here, let's get together. And we've had lives with over 300 people on it, and I'm blown away by that.
I think this is an opportunity for you also, which it appears that you're doing, to provide pet therapy for other humans, for your fellow human beings. And we've heard about all the research that backs this up, but you're actually doing this on a day-to-day basis. You're giving back to the members of the public by improving their mental and emotional health and well-being. And that's really good for us. And it's when Dave says to me, "What are you smiling at?" It's normally a pig. I was smiling earlier, and he's what are you smiling at? Another pig. It's King Carl. He's got too big.
He's so big. He's such a good boy.
So, people do become part of the story, and that's absolutely amazing. And whilst we're talking about human health and well-being, how have you seen health benefits for yourself once you've gone vegan?
A bunch of stuff, nothing crazy drastic, but definitely, there's some weight loss. It helped with anxiety. I had more energy. I think a big thing was that there's a guilt on your soul that gets lifted. So there's an emotional, and I think the emotional has to do with not eating animals. And you didn't know that you had this guilt that you carried from eating animals and being a tomb for these animals. But I think also because of not having my energy improved, but I think it was emotional energy and the physical energy from not eating animals. So my anxiety was better. I'd suffered from depression. My depression, that's a constant battle, but it never got as bad as it did when I was eating meat.
Yeah.
So I think it helped my depression. Definitely I felt my body was more efficient as well. You don't get the bogged down feeling. You don't get the heaviness. You don't, obviously we can eat junk food as vegans that people, don't know, but there's just as much junk food out there for vegan as there are for non-vegans. And so I think the long-term thing is, my lows aren't as low. I do have more energy. Um, I when I do get sick, it's definitely not as drastic as before. Like I haven't gotten sick like I used to get sick before I went vegan. I
Mhm.
definitely got when you'd get a cold, it was much worse. Now it's not really bad.
So, if you, on a health basis, if you could give the viewers at home one takeaway from being vegan, what would it be?
The energy, and as far as physically, the definitely the energy is there. Recovery from a harder day of working outside on the farm. I'm older. I'm 51, and so you know, come summer, those days are 16 hours.
Mm.
And normally I would be hurting, muscle pains and stuff like that. But my recovery is so much easier.
So, farms traditionally are not very good for the environment, but you've got a little farm. So, for people that are going to say, "Yeah, but Todd's got a farm and that's bad for the environment," what do you say to them?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't have to exist if people didn't eat meat. So, this is a greater good effort, and we're changing. I get messages, at minimum one message a day, that someone went vegan because of the animals here. So I think we're erasing our carbon footprint by those people that don't have farms, that just went vegan, that stopped eating meat. And you're talking about transportation for those animals. You're talking about the methane gas. You're talking about, there's so many different levels. So when one person goes vegan, and again, I get at least one message a day that people went vegan specifically because of the animals here and how I'm showing their different personalities. So, we compost, we do everything the right way. Um, we have 77 acres. That's more than half of woods. We're really efficient. So anything that people are saying, we're offsetting by making vegans and making vegans every day. It's so funny. I say, like, when animals, like, we're focusing on an animal. So now Louis is really being focused on because he's on his rehabilitation journey. And he's a vegan maker, because I'm getting messages every day. I fell in love with Louis. I was sitting there, I was eating a bacon sandwich, and I said to myself, what the heck can I do? And they push it away. So many times it will be, Princess has made more vegans than anybody I've ever met.
Princess makes me laugh.
She's incredible. And the thing is, they are not notoriously raised for meat. They are raised for meat in certain countries. And in the US, they will be slaughtered for meat. But there's something that Princess puts out there. And Carl's a huge vegan maker. They all are in their certain aspects, but Carl, he's like a magic vegan maker. And he's a magic vegan maker for guys. It's
Wow.
so funny. There's women who like certain animals, there's men who like certain animals. Men are obsessed with Carl.
Oh, I
He'll
thought it
come on
would
a
have been
tour,
Louis.
like, where's Carl? And we have people doing construction and work here all the time. And they won't know about us. They don't follow us. They don't know anything. And 99.9% of the time, they're like, can we see, where's that pig, Carl? Because they just want to see him. They say
Oh.
goodbye to him. They say good morning to him. And they think, when they're going out for lunch, they'll leave for lunch and they're like, I went out for lunch. I couldn't do it. I thought of
Mm.
Carl. And that's why we're here. We're here to
Yeah.
make the connection. And I don't care how you make the connection, as long as you stop eating meat. I literally don't care how you make the connection. And, everybody loves Princess. Everybody loves Carl, and I get those messages every day. And I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is why we're here. Because my dream is to be unemployed. That's my dream, to no longer be needed. And then I let every animal here die its natural death. They live their lifespan, and every day is better than the last. But when the last animal dies off, I can disappear. And that's a dream. I hope it happens in my life. I hope I'm not needed. I hope I'm unemployed. And it's very odd to hear someone say that. I am 100% volunteer. I don't take a salary whatsoever from the sanctuary. But my dream would be an unemployed volunteer.
The whole sanctuary is run by volunteers. How amazing is that?
It's awesome. I mean, we'll have to hire someone eventually because it's too much right now to not have a steady person besides myself here. I have a special needs volunteer that lives here now, Todd too. We call him Todd too because his name's Todd, and he's amazing. But we'll need someone as we start taking more and more special needs animals in to just be there for support and to someone that we can count on. With Louis takes up about 4 hours of my day, and there's still 54 other animals that I have to care for. And a lot of them are special needs. And I'm driving back and forth to Cornell and vet appointments and stuff like that. So it'll be good to eventually get someone here to help out. But right now it's 100% volunteer based. And we pride ourselves on it, but it's not, the future is not going to be for a whole volunteer. We need someone here to help out with the day-to-day running because we are finding ourselves in a niche. We get contacted about the special needs animals because we're willing, and there's a lot of places that will, but it just turns out that we're getting a reputation to take in special needs animals and give them the care that they need and have the expertise in that. And that's why we focus on pigs. People are like, why just pigs? I'm like, I love pigs. I'm obsessed with pigs. I live, breathe, and sleep pigs. And I just love them so much. But being very specialized and having a connection at Cornell with being specialized in pigs, it's getting these animals the best care. So we get the calls for this animal can't walk, this animal's obese. And it's like, once our new barn is up, we'll be and get a full-time employee, we will be taking in way more animals with special needs that need special care that we're getting the experience with the animals we have now. So it's wonderful. We're super excited for the future.
There's something I'd like to clear up. The general public, when I mention pigs and how amazing pigs are, the general public normally say to me, but they're dirty. And my response to that is, no, humans keep them in dirty conditions. So what can you tell people about pigs that actually think that way?
They're flat wrong. They're as wrong as you can get. And several things. They talk about mud. It's actually, mud is clean most of the time. And they'll use it for, it's a sunscreen. It actually it bathes them because it chips off and they're clean underneath that mud. They use it for insect control and to keep them cool. And it comes off. They do not pee or poop in their stalls. They don't lay in their own poop. They don't lay in their own pee. So they walk out of their stalls. They either walk outside and they'll go to the bathroom and they come back in. But we don't have to clean their stalls every day. If you have goats, cows, llamas, anything like that, they'll just sit there and poop and pee and then they'll lay in it. Pigs do not do that. Pigs do not lay in their own poop. And that's why when you see, that's hard. And that's when you see these animals in deplorable condition, especially pigs, in their own pee and poop, they, that pig doesn't want to be living like that because they're so smart. They're smart as a 4-year-old child. They need stimulation. We do so much enrichment with them because they're so brilliant, but they're rolling in mud to keep them some school because they're smart.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see them walk by. Katniss is out right now, covered in mud. It's cold out, but she's itchy, so she covers it, and it cures her itch because she's so smart. She goes to bed tonight. All that mud flakes off, and she's bright and shiny. There's so many misconceptions, and when we refer to pigs, general public refers. They say it like it's a derogatory thing.
Mm.
And if they only knew, they're brilliant. They're so smart. They know their names. My biggest videos on Instagram or on a tour is when I call a pig by their name and they're in a group of pigs and that pig turns around. The look on shock on people's face is mind blowing because I'll be like, hey, Max. And Max will be like, turn around. They're like, what? He knows his name? I'm like, yeah. They can open doors. They know. They're so brilliant. They take care of each other when they're down, when they're not feeling good. They're just amazing. They grieve. They have emotions. They feel happy. They feel sad. They're just such amazing animals and they just don't get enough credit. And people just look at them like, I'll get people that are trolls and be on my social media, but what about bacon? That's their big fight to me. Bacon, bacon, bacon. I have people that will just write bacon 20 times in a message to me. I get harassed all the time. They're like, what about bacon? What about bacon? It's torture. It's torture on your plate and you're going to die eating it. So good luck. You're going to have an early death because you're obsessed with something that's torturing animals so you can have a minute enjoyment on your lips. It's terrible.
It is terrible. And I think a lot of people also don't understand that it's for human health. It's not just a case of they're having their bacon sandwich and they're torturing the animals. And it's not just the chemicals, it's the antibiotics and the steroids and the bovine growth hormone that they put into the animal feed to make those animals big very, very quickly.
Our feed is specially made for sanctuaries because we have to keep that as clean as possible, because people don't understand, these animals are bred to get 250 pounds in 6 months. So every animal people are eating are babies.
Yeah.
Pigs are 6 months old. Chickens are 6 weeks old. Cows are 2 years old. Veal is 6 weeks old. Turkeys are 6 weeks old. Everything they eat are babies. So they need to get them as fat as possible, as quickly as possible. So pigs, when we rescue a pig that's, 4 weeks old, like Max, Max took a year and a half to get 250 pounds. But in these growing facilities, after they breed them, they send them to fattening facilities, and they have access to food 24/7. The one thing pigs will do is eat as much as they can. They love to eat, but they've been bred that way. So you'll have a pig that's 6 months old that should be 125 pounds. That's 250 pounds. And that's their expiration date. The minute they reach 250 or 6 months old, they're brought to the slaughterhouse. So they've been so bred so unnaturally, and people just don't understand what's in these animals what they're eating. And there's cancer and there's tumors and there's just so much poison in these bodies that they're eating, and they don't care. It's terrible.
I remember an incident where I was standing in the queue at the supermarket and I noticed a gangling on a piece of meat. So I gave it to the man who was serving me. He said, "What's the matter with you?" I said, "It's a gangling. You can't serve that." He said, "Put it back. It's on them all." And when it's on them all, you start to think, hold on a second. Do people actually know what's happening to these animals and what they're putting in their body? Even if they don't care about the animals, it's what they're putting in their body as well. And a lot of people don't, because there's such a huge disconnect between animal and meat on plate.
I was literally just going to say that. I was in the supermarket this morning in the queue, as you would say, and the shirt says, I'll show you, it says "Friend, not food."
Yeah.
So the guy in front of me started laughing. I'm like, "We're an animal rescue. What are you laughing at?" "Oh, I thought that was a joke." I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, I love animals." I said, "You have," and he's putting on the conveyor belt, he's putting a chicken, there's cheese, there's meat, there's red meat. And I'm like, "You can't love animals and eat them too." And he's like, "Well, I have almond milk." I said, "Well, that's a start, but there's so much pain and torture on in your order. You can't love these animals." And he was so uncomfortable, and that's fine. I'm happy with him being uncomfortable, but he was literally laughing because his shirt said "Friend, not food." He thought it was funny, and it made it really uncomfortable because the cashier was really super slow, and he's standing next to me, and I'm literally saying, there's so much death and torture in what you're eating. And he didn't hear me because he didn't want to hear me, but I'm happy I got it out, because I'm like, this isn't a joke. We rescue animals. It's not a joke. But they think their meat comes from the supermarket. They don't realize it comes from baby animals at a slaughterhouse that are being tortured, that are experiencing pain and heartache, and seeing their babies and their mothers ripped from them just to be slaughtered, to have their neck cut or electrocuted, or a bolt gun through the brain. It's like they don't see that. They go into a supermarket, say, "Oh, there's a hamburger on the shelf." That's where it was born. It just got delivered. There's no death behind it. They don't think. And I don't fault people most of the time for not knowing, but when they do know, that's when I fault people. You know where this comes from. You understand it. A lot of people like to be kept in the dark, but once you see it and you know where it's from, there's no excuse.
One of the things we want to do is try and make sure that people have the right information so they can make informed judgments for themselves. What tip can you actually give people, as in information wise? Where do they look? Where do they go to find out this information? How can they improve their lives health wise and emotionally? How can they look after the animals? Where can they get all this information from?
There's so much information out there. It's hard to just pick one. There's so many resources. One, sanctuaries. Most of these vegan sanctuaries, there are sanctuaries that aren't vegan. I don't understand it, but that's fine. But find a vegan sanctuary, follow. There's so many good sanctuaries out there, and there's so much good information. You have sanctuaries like that. You have just to follow. And there's also like Catskill Sanctuary has cooking classes. Odd Man Inn is just genuine, amazing people with great information. Lancaster Farm Sanctuary in Pennsylvania, they're amazing. They talk about vegan food options all the time. Really just following sanctuaries. PETA has great introductions to vegan, and they are an amazing resource for that kind of information, and it's all free. If you write them, they send us cases and cases of material that we can hand out to the general public. They're fully supported. They have budgets for all the materials to be sent out for free. So they have vegan starter kits at PETA that you could just send for, and they'll send you a vegan starter kit. But, and that's why I always tell people, I'm like, there's no excuse for ignorance anymore.
No.
I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a cell phone as a kid. There was excuses. Okay, I don't have the information. Now you have, it's called Google. You know what I mean? And anything, you just put it in and the information's there. So it's actually harder not to find the information than actually find the information. But I always recommend follow a sanctuary, follow them day to day, ask questions about their animals. Because people even ask us, okay, what about eggs? Yeah, that's torture too. What do you do with the eggs? I'm like, we feed it back to them because the chickens are calcium deficient because they were bred to have so many eggs a month that their bodies can't handle it. So we feed it back to them. So following these sanctuaries and out there, you'll get so much information by the stories, because we're all telling a story. I don't shove veganism down people's throats, but I do talk about it almost every day. But people don't even know I'm talking about it, and I do. And I always answer questions. I'm always happy to answer questions. But my form of activism is to show these animals with different personalities. So it comes in your head, be like, oh, now I get it. And I do talk about veganism, but some people don't want to hear it too much. In our hashtags, it's all talks about veganism. I talk about the animals and I talk about veganism, and I talk about people who support us. It's all vegan companies that support us. But it's the stories, and everybody has a different delivery. So there's so much information out there. It's beautiful. There's amazing sanctuaries out there to follow that have just really cool resources, and a lot of them have on their website. Like I said, maybe people don't like some things that PETA do. They may be a little extreme, but they're a plethora of knowledge about veganism. They really are, and they're passionate about it.
We want people to become part of your story, like I've become part of your story. Where do they find you apart from Instagram? Where do they find you?
You can go to our website. All of the animal stories are on the website. Obviously, we go live every day, so it's really cool to check us out. It's not a set time, so people just have to set their Instagram or Facebook for alerts that when we go live, they'll get a message that we're going live. We have a Patreon, which is our biggest platform for fundraising, but it's also like our private social media where you have to be a member. You can do it for $1 a month if you want. You could do it for $1,000 a month. So you pick the amount, and it's just supporting us so we know how much money is coming every month. But when we have, when you become and sign on to our Patreon account, which you can see on our website or our Instagram profiles, you get messages before everybody else get messages. So you'll get, we have a rescue going on right now. So we discuss it on Patreon first, and then we go in a couple of days, we'll go live to the general public. So that's like the best place to find the inside information, what's going on, the downloads. You get special events alerts and special event tickets and stuff going on. But obviously Instagram and Facebook are the best place. Patreon is an amazing place. Because it's really awesome, because you can feel a part of it. You get all the special information. You get all the first to hear about the rescues events, and it's for $1. Like I said, you could do $100, you could do $1,000 a month, but it starts at $1 and you get the same access everybody else does. But it's really cool because you're a part of it. I always say that it takes a village, and there's the Arthur's Acres Animal Sanctuary village people. And I couldn't do this by myself, and I'm blessed to have people support us to allow me to do this, to take care of these animals. And when an animal goes to the hospital that people step up and they're like, we want to help you take care of this animal. We are developing a whole rehab system for these animals. And we're blessed because people love to be a part of that. And there's people that don't make a lot of money that give us $1 a month. And they're like, this is all I have. And it's like, that's awesome. Every dollar counts. You're going to feel just as special as someone that gives $1,000, because without you, we don't exist.
And it's all relative, isn't it? A dollar to one person could be £1,000 to another. So it's all
It's
relative.
awesome. And we look at everybody the same way. And we're just blessed that you've chosen that dollar to go to us. You could have chosen a million different charities. And I always tell people like, oh, I only do $1 a month. I'm like, never, ever, ever say only. Please don't insult yourself like that. It means so much to us. Just the fact that you chose us. We are blessed. It's never only. I always have to correct people. I only. No, it's not only. It's awesome. It's awesome. Like, we're blown away when we get $1 Patreon. It's like, it's so cool because someone believed in us. And you don't know, they may do $2 next month, and it doesn't matter. It's just, you chose us, and it's awesome.
Before we finish up, how's Candy?
Snoring. Come here, baby girl. She's amazing. Her surgery went really well. She's a sweetheart. She's my little shadow, and she's with me all day. She's became an instant farm dog, and she's doing great. They got all the cancer. Her pneumonia cleared up, and she is basically as good as new. And she has a great prognosis for the future. She has to get checkups every. Hi, Lyle. You want to say hi? She has to get checkups every 6 months, and she's thriving. She is doing so well. She loves it here. She loves being a farm dog. Everybody loves her, but she's my shadow. She's stuck to me like glue. You love your dad?
So is there anything you don't like to add?
No, just go vegan, please. Make me unemployed, make me disappear. Go vegan. It does, go vegan and no one gets hurt. No one gets hurt. No one dies for your food. I love my life because nothing suffers for my existence. And until you feel that feeling, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than nothing suffering for you to exist in the world. You can't get a better feeling than that.
And us vegans, we tend to call animals people too. So when we say no one gets hurt, we mean no animals get hurt.
Yes. No animals get hurt. It's awesome. And so, make the connection. It's not hard. All my contact information is all over the place. And I'm happy to talk to anybody through the process. I'm so passionate about veganism and passionate about these animals that I will do anything to help you stop harming them.
So that's a personal invitation from you to anybody that needs any help at all.
Anybody.
Going vegan, plant-based. If you need any help, call Todd. So thank you, Todd. It's been great talking to you today.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for having me on.
You too.
Love, thanks.
Bye.